Jackpot. We are live and direct to the building. Right. Men, women, boys and girls, ladies and gentle germs, welcome to the NorthWeezy's podcast, the place and space where we get to create, curate, and cultivate the art of great conversation. And on today's episode, I am joined by the effervescent, ever enigmatic, the spiritual, flowing, spiritual guiding, always abundantly creating, the magnanimous Nina. Round of applause, please.
What a wonderful introduction. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was beautiful.
There are many, many fantastic words that I know, but I'd rather save it for the conversation. So we are what would be deemed as you Americans would like to say, internet cousins.
Absolutely.
we are acquainted through mutual friends, and it is always a pleasure to be aware of your skills and your talents. So for the audio that has just kicked in, I am joined by the ever fantastic Nina, and from what I could understand, I'm going to just say briefly and correct me at any point. From my understanding, you're more of a self-empowerment coach and for sure a spiritual advisor. Where was I wrong in that, and or would you like to add to that?
No, indeed. That pretty much encapsulates the majority of my energy.
Mm-hmm.
I am endowed as a self-empowerment coach. I teach mindfulness within spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I am a psychic medium where my spiritual advice may come in it. But that pretty much sums it all up. Of course, there are very much more subcategories to that.
Of course.
But in the broader aspect, you got it down pat. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you kindly. It's always, I'm trying to find a nice way to say this, even though I'm not going to, it sounds like I'm saying it in a bad way, but that's not what I mean. As in, I'm always overjoyed to see you share and create content that connects to both men and women. And it also, tonality wise, connects to someone who's curious. So I'm always overjoyed when you always put out content that connects to someone who's curious, because that for me highlights that you are aware enough and compassionate enough to show that, hey, I know some information and I'm willing to share it. So using that as a springboard and as a slight disclaimer, what was your mindset when you decided to invest the majority of your quote unquote energy and time into spirituality? So I say that simply because what I said was very convoluted. So what thoughts did you have when you decided to start up the practice of spirituality?
I love that you highlighted that, first off, because that was exactly my mindset. When I first started in spirituality, completely lost, 110%. So when I started, it was from scratch. I knew nothing of nothing, from nothing, about nothing, literally from scratch. I was born and raised as a Christian from a Christian home, Baptist. So literally learning about spirituality, it was me coming out as a black sheep of my family. So this was me like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. So, and even, so let me back the track just a little bit more. So born and raised Christianity. And then as I became as a teen to a younger adult, some of the men in my family started to kind of branch out as well into Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Although Islam was intriguing to me and I kind of felt a little bit more connected than Christianity, I still didn't feel whole. Something still felt missing. Like something just still didn't click for me. I didn't feel, I'm like, oh, not yet. Close, but no cigar, you know?
Yeah. For sure.
So I went through something really traumatic around the age of 26 and 27. It was loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. And then, boom, spirituality hit. I didn't know what it was, technically. I just knew it was something. I just didn't have a label to attach it to. So that's what started my research, you know?
So sorry. Carry on.
No, you're perfectly fine. The only thing I was about to say after that, that's what started the research, and I found a mentor or an advisor, and that's how my journey started.
So to go back before we go forward, you mentioned that your gateway religion was Christianity, and then the subsect of that Abrahamic religion was Islam, and then you went through a journey of exploring different avenues of spirituality. What did that look like?
It was chaotic. So kind of picture Hansel and Gretel running through the forest.
Okay.
Picture that story. Try to picture that story. Yeah. And you know, Hansel and Gretel, you got these two kids just trying to find their purpose, basically trying to find their way home, and they are running through this enchanted forest and they don't know diddly squat.
Yeah.
They know what a tree is, you know what a branch is, you know what soil is, you know what a grass is, but you just really don't know what direction to go in. Do you know what I mean? So you can identify little things along the path, you just don't have direction. So even though you don't have direction, and even though you can identify certain things along the path, you may see a house, you may see a person, and you just don't understand the discernment between the house and the person. So you go and you check it out. What is this? But you don't understand, is this safe? Is this not safe? You just don't know. You don't know. But you all you have is, like, you know, for Hansel and Gretel, like, kind of picture yourself as Hansel and Gretel, because you have your masculine and your feminine. So picture Hansel and Gretel as one. All you have is you two. You only have this one thing. You only have you two to use as a source. You don't have anything else but that. It's chaotic, very dysfunctional.
You're touching on information and terminology and phrasing that will go over a lot of people's heads. So you're talking about the duality of masculine and feminine, the age of awareness. You're also speaking on the understanding of nature and basic elements that are around you. You're also speaking on the journey that a person can go on.
Absolutely.
These are, as to quote 19 Keys, you're speaking on some high level concepts here.
Absolutely.
It would be remiss of me to not simplify just for a second for the listeners out there who may not be aware of that. Me and you are aware, so we can talk and riff in code for eons. But for the people that exist beyond where we are, how do you think we could address that in a different way?
Let's see. So for our beginners, right?
Stumped.
Okay, let's take Hansel and Gretel out of it. Let's take Hansel and Gretel out of it. Okay. You go to school.
Yeah.
You're in kindergarten. Everybody can relate to kindergarten.
Yeah.
You have to leave mommy and daddy. That is heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. What do you do? What do you do? All you're used to is being at home. You know, at home, mommy and daddy, or mommy, or however your function is at home, you're used to it. Rather it's dysfunctional, rather it's even if it is dysfunctional, it's functional to you because that's what you're used to.
Exactly.
So regardless of the functions that happens in your house, now and regardless of how prepped you are for kindergarten, you're 5. You're 5 years old. What do you mean you're about to take me somewhere for 8 hours the next day? What are you talking about? What is this? And who is this lady or gentleman that's in my face for 8 hours? And who are all these other little beings that's my height looking and staring in my face? And why are they touching my crayons? These are my things. Don't touch my stuff.
Relatable.
That is chaotic. Jeez. That is chaotic.
Yeah.
That's a lot to handle at one time.
Yeah. And some may say that it takes a lifetime. It takes a lifetime and then some to get over it.
And then some. And then you come pick me up 8 hours later. And you mean to tell me I gotta do this again tomorrow? You better not take me back here. You better not bring me back here tomorrow. That is traumatizing.
Yeah. It's a big recipe for chaos and trauma and dysfunction. So knowing that, well, we all, part of the human experience, have gone through that level of dysfunction, where would you think a person can start to find direction? Because you mentioned that you were finding your own journey through direction before. I was like, okay, so what would you say to a beginner as in life, maybe someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or even 50s, where do they then start to, find direction? That's loose, but where would they find direction? What would you say?
Ask questions. Ask questions. I did not ask questions, and that was my biggest downfall. I allowed myself to research alone. Ask questions. Venture out. I find, especially amongst our Black and Brown community, like within our culture, we allow our pride and ego to take over our education so much. So much.
All right. So
and that like covers, because it's like, I don't want to look stupid. I get so many new clients and then they feel shame over, because it comes from, I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised in a home of Islam, because those are our two biggest religions, especially in our Black and Brown community. Because it's like, oh, if I venture out into spirituality, I'm going to be shamed on because it's demonic. And it's like, excuse me, you need to do more research on your culture. So they're so shamed on it, whereas though they're not even trying to do research or get educated on or beyond it to understand that this is not satanic. This is not Satan. Excuse my pronunciation. You'll learn that I do not pronounce things. I can't even say iron or mirror. My pronunciation is trash. But this is not that religion.
You're working on it.
I'm working on it. There we are. See, thank you. Education. Thank you. So, but there are certain religions that worship the devil, and spirituality is not a religion. It's not a religion. So that sounds there's like the ignorance behind it. Yeah. Right. There you go.
Let's come back a bit. I'm not gonna go, deep into the water too much, even though it's good to dive deep in the water every once in a while, metaphorically speaking. Right. So you touched on the confusion between spirituality and satanic practices. You also touched on people asking questions.
Yes.
And you also touched on the awareness a person can have, and when that awareness crops up, the measure of shame that can occur.
Indeed.
So the question that I like being a villain sometimes to ask these questions.
Oh yes.
Why do you think shame rather than curiosity is the default?
That is a very, very, very good question, and I would have to say it has to be a mixture between social conditioning, generational trauma, and there's this thing, and I can't think of the name straight off the top of my head, but DNA construction, like it's very much included in generational trauma, whereas though oh my god, I can't think of it. You learn this in, there's a scientific term for it. It's gonna beat me up until I get it. But so let me explain the definition of it, because I can't think of the term. So say like your great grandfather, or let's slavery, right? Say your great grandfather was beaten down, was constantly told by his mother that he will never amount to something. So that was constantly stuck in his head. So in his head, since my mother told me I would never amount to anything, he never did anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So that constantly that he never did anything. So now he has a son. So the son sees that daddy doesn't do anything, so he doesn't do anything. That now he has a son, and that continues on through that lineage. Do you see what I'm trying to say? But there's a term for it. There's a scientific term for it, and it's on the tip of my tongue. It's just not processing. Right. And I'm going to kill myself because as soon as we hang up, I'm like, that's what it is.
Try not to, because your life is precious. So let's just say that it's something that you're going to find out, maybe.
Yeah.
I do understand what you mean. So there is a social and genetic conditioning that human beings go through, because as always, which may not be self-apparent, in the quote unquote secular world, as well as in the spiritual world, we look at things. So we look at it with two sets of eyes. We look at it through the eyes of religion. We look at it through the eyes of, the biological water sacs that are in our faces right now.
Indeed.
And we don't understand the coding and the copying that goes on. And we also need to become aware of the coding and copying that we inherited.
Yes.
So sometimes, this is just my response to the question I just asked you, I would say, maybe it is due to the very fierce conditioning emotionally that a person goes through to not become aware and compassionate to their own personal journey. Now, I have a quote unquote policy that I follow, and that's to be and to apply considerate compassion. Now, when we navigate the world, we should always find moments of considerate compassion. I start off by saying, how can I be considerately compassionate to myself to then extend that same grace to another person? Indeed. Of course, I'm human, I'm fallible, I make mistakes, I don't do it 24/7. I endeavor to, I don't all the time. Let's say 80% of the day. So in answer to that question, what do you think would be, the starting point for a person? Well, it really boils down to the patience a person has in becoming aware within themselves.
Absolutely.
That could be physically, that could be emotionally, that could be socially, that could be familially as well, like within their family unit, both genetic and extended, like through their own choice of who they want to be as their own personal family. So it's a bit of a Pandora's box. There are so many things going on the inside. It's very difficult to pin down one particular thing. That being said, sorry, you mentioned that around 26, 27, you went on your own personal journey. Why was that so important? And why was that a benchmark that you brought up?
I think probably because that was the first time I had to do something alone. Now,
Makes
I've
sense.
always felt alone. Um, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
You seem like the person who's never
growing,
alone. So
everyone says that. Growing
my
up,
apologies.
I was a responsible. No. You're totally fine. Growing up, I was a responsible kid.
Same.
I'm the first granddaughter. I'm the first daughter. I'm the only sister. I'm the only aunt. I was raised around men. The only women that were in my life was my grandmother, my mom, and my aunts, which were all older women. So I was the only, and I'm the only daughter. I think I said that. So the only women that were around me growing up were older women. So I had nothing but men. So I had nothing to kind of relate to, so to speak, on a feminine level. So that kind of was one thing in a whole, like, and then trying to make friends and maintain friends. I never, granted, I wasn't alone, yeah, but I never felt 100% in totality attached to them. If that, and even when I was with my friends, I never related to them. They had sisters. They weren't the only girls like I was. And when I did talk, I was more of the therapy friend. They were all older than me. They were always older than me by 3 or 4 years.
Such a nerves within me, man. It's making sense. It's making sense, man.
Does it make sense? Then then you understand what I mean by. Then you get it. Then you get where I'm going. So
more that.
All right.
So I'll segue with a separate question just to allow a little levity here, which is, what does friendship mean to you?
Oh, love. Friendship is love. Friendship is friendship is I am you and you are me.
Color that in a bit more.
Say that again?
Color that in a bit more.
So loyalty, honor, you pour into me, I pour into you. I look at my friendship the same way I look at romantic relationships. We do not do categories. If you have to put me in a category, I am not your friend, I am an associate. I'm somebody you know. If I cannot, and I understand that certain people may show up in different capacities because they just may not have certain skill sets. That is perfectly fine for me, as long as you show up in the capacity that you're able to show up in. Because I do not expect you to do nothing else other than be yourself, because that's why we are friends, because it's a balance. You understand? So if there is any way that you feel as if you can't be 100% yourself to me, I will be able to feel that. And that will tell me that we are not friends. And that will also tell me that we are friends. So you are me and I'm you. Friendship.
Brilliantly said. So I'm going to share.
Absolutely.
Friendship for me is an extension off of my own personal creed. So that's CREED, not the movie, as in the principle of life. So my creed is the third way. And I've mentioned this to friends and family who are in my personal orbit. And for me, as an individual expressing this human condition, friendship is more than just someone who's at the end of the phone, someone who you occasionally meet up and go out. They are that person who you can share your thoughts with. They are that person who you can grow and develop with. They're the person who challenges you. They question you. They check in, even if it's seasonally, on a consistent and considerate basis. Because I understand we're grown folks. Look, I've got facial hair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a thing. We've got to be smart enough to know that you may be here when I've got less facial hair. You may be here when I've got more. You've got to be smart about these things. So I see friendship as an extension of my own personal creed in life, which is, if I bleed, then if we're friends, it's your job to ask questions as to how I cut myself.
Yeah.
And then you either hold my hand and walk the journey with me, or you guide me to where we're going to go.
Yeah.
But it's something that's not done alone. It's something that's done as a collective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your friends are, let me see if I can find it. There's an expression which is blood is thicker than water. But
I know that expression.
What is it?
Very familiar. I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but I know exactly, because we always say that part, but we don't say the full expression.
Yeah, which is, it's blood is thicker than water than the water of the womb of the covenant, or something like that.
Amen.
It's
I think you got it.
It's something around that, and I personally completely understand that. That the chosen bonds that we go and find for ourselves are kindergarten friends, as you would say. For us, we'd say it's our school friends, our primary school friends. You'd say kindergarten. So it's those friends that you form then that define the character who you will eventually end up being. Because we're all just little kids trying to figure this stuff out as we do it.
Yes. Did you see that? Oh, sorry. Just to point what you said, we're all kids. Did you see that Keke Palmer insert she did? And it made so much sense, but unfortunately she sent it to the wrong crowd and they didn't capture it. But what you said, totally, absolutely, because I caught it. But she said just that she said we are children forever. She gave a nice little speech to explain it. If I do, I'll find a clip and I'll text it to you or whatever. But
Yeah.
you said it perfectly, and people don't understand that we are our children. We are children forever because we're just trying to figure life out. And we're just children at different phases in our life.
Yeah,
Like,
that part frustrates me. Sorry to cut you off. That
Mhm.
part really frustrates me when I encounter people who do that. And it's just like, okay, I understand, right? Your emotional reaction is to be like, no, I'm not a kid, I'm this, I'm that. And I was like, look, first of all, if you can't, I don't like using that definitive moment, but bear with me as I say this. If a
Yes.
person cannot understand the difference between application and comprehension, then I've just got to
Okay.
walk away. I really have to.
Yeah.
It's a journey we should be more considerate of. Right. The time is running short because we both unfortunately have lives we need to get back to. So I'm going to segue very sharply onto some quick fire questions
Absolutely.
to you. So question number 1, your top 3 favorite zodiacs signs.
Gemini, number 1, hands down.
Uh-huh.
Scorpio
Uh-huh.
and Aquarius.
Okay. What's your go-to self-care item?
Item like an object?
Yep.
Candles.
Cool. What's the difference between a crystal and a gem?
Oh, that's a good question. I want to say texture.
Fair enough. If you could live anywhere on the planet to get in tune spiritually, where would it be?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
If there was a place on the planet where you can become in tune spiritually, where would it be?
Hawaii.
Interesting. What advice would you give to your 10-year-old self? So you at 10 years old, what would you tell them in less than 10 seconds? You just traveled in time. You can't say much. You literally got 10 seconds. Grab them and be like, so what are you going to say? What are you
Don't
going
be scared. Don't be scared. Keep talking to them. There's nothing to be terrified of. They are real. Keep listening. Don't shut them out.
We're going to unpack that off air. We need to talk about
That's
that.
fine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Last question. What self-empowerment phrase do you tell yourself daily?
You're beautiful. No matter what you wear.
Nice.
Mhm.
Nice. That's brilliant. Yeah. So I'm going to break from formula a little bit, and I'm going to say, what's one question that you'd like to ask me before I ask you the next set of questions?
How did you start your spiritual path?
Sorry, I laughed at an inconvenient moment in time. Heartbreak is how I started my spiritual journey, and it was when I was 18, going on 19.
Oh, that's beautiful. You've been here for a while.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
I'm a mother's
I
favorite.
love that.
Look this way. I'm quite old, but I've learned a lot in my very short life. I've learned a lot.
I love that. Okay.
So what got me on that journey was heartbreak. It was an emotional one and a physical one, very close to each other, very close, and it taught me a lot. I found a measure of resilience that I didn't think I would find, and the scars of that resilience have existed even up until 5 minutes ago. So yeah, that's mine. So slight disclaimer:
Sorry.
if there is anyone out there, it's fine. It's fine. If there's anyone out there that would like to get in contact with your spirituality, like guidings or readings or information, where can they find you?
Oh, say that last part again. I'm sorry. It timed out.
Sorry, where can the people find you to get spiritual information, spiritual awareness, or guidance? Where can they find you?
You can either send me an email at Mystic Muse SX, that's MYSTICMUSES SSM, X is in xylophone, at gmail.com, or Instagram, and that's Express Spiritually. With 1 S.
Yes.
Can I type it in the chat?
Yeah, no, I'm going to tag it in the notes.
Are you gonna tag it?
Yeah.
Even better. Yeah, either way, you know.
We can all find it.
Yeah.
I am honored for the time that you've given me today, and I want to thank you for sharing the very little time that you do have in your very busy schedule when you're out there. As of recording, this is on Greenwich Mean Time, very late in the night, and for you, it's very early in the evening. So I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and share and discuss. We have a lot to cover offline about this. I don't let sleeping dogs lie. Like we have a lot to talk about.
Indeed, it's been a pleasure. I'm so grateful for you having me on here. Thank you.
So I'm going to sign us out, and then I will speak to you very shortly. But in the meantime, I want you and the listeners out there to stay safe, stay well, stay hydrated, and as always, stay amazing. Thank you, Nina, for your time. Thank you.